1.5 million years ago, the balance of power shifted forever. For millions of years, humans were prey hunted by lions, leopards, and saber-toothed cats. But something changed. For the first time in history, our ancestors didn't just run from danger. They turned and fought back. The African savanna was a deadly arena. Claws, teeth, and speed ruled the land. Yet early humans discovered a weapon more powerful than muscle strategy. With sharpened stone tools and fire at their side, they were no longer helpless. Hunting in groups, they began to stalk their own prey. Antelope, zebra, even young mammoth animals, far stronger than any single human. But with cooperation, traps, and persistence, humans could outlast and outsmart them. This was the dawn of endurance, hunting chasing prey across the scorching savanna until exhaustion toppled even the strongest beast. It was brutal, it was dangerous, and it was revolutionary. For the first time, predators began to fear humans. The hunted became the hunters, and around the fire, with roasted meat feeding their growing brains, humans unlocked something greater than survival. They unlocked dominion. From this moment on, the course of history was sealed. We were no longer prey, we were predators, and soon, the masters of the earth. For most of our planet's history, life has been all about staying alive, and for much of that time, humans were nothing more than prey animals. We spent millions of years being chased around by terrifying predators, and though we survived, it was only just barely. Our existence was a daily struggle against giant crocodiles, saber-toothed cats, and even other human ancestors. But now things are changing. This is the story of when humans first became predators. Welcome to life. Life 1.5 million years ago started with fear. The young Homo erectus slowly woke up in the middle of the African savanna. His head was filled with thoughts of running away from dangerous predators. His brain told him that there was a reason to be scared. There were lions, hyenas, packs of wild dogs, and even leopards lurking in the tall grasses just waiting to ambush unwary prey. And he was small, weak, and very alone. He didn't stand a chance. In fact, he was actually in more danger than his ancestors had ever been. See, a few million years before, they lived in Africa, but not here on the open savannas. They lived in the forests where life was less harsh. These forests, however, had been shrinking for quite some time. As the climate changed, more dry land emerged from the ocean, which led to the formation of mountains, deserts, and grasslands. This meant that many animals were forced to move out of the forests and into the savannas, including early humans. And this wasn't a very smart move. Being on the savannas meant that their lives would be in constant danger. This new environment also meant that the old ways of surviving would no longer work. Smaller brains needed bigger bodies to protect them. So evolution began producing larger hominids. It started creating creatures like Homo ergaster, Homo habilis, and eventually Homo erectus. Homo erectus was the first human ancestor to migrate out of Africa. They spread throughout the Old World and lived as far east as Indonesia and as far north as Europe. They were stronger and smarter than their predecessors, but that still wasn't enough to keep them safe. They were still too slow, too weak, and too stupid to survive on their own. But luckily for them, they had something that other animals didn't have. They had what made them special, the ability to cooperate. The young Homo erectus wasn't alone after all. He was part of a clan, a large group of cooperating relatives who would hunt and gather food together. Because while he was weak on his own, he was strong in numbers. There was safety in numbers, and there was power in numbers. Hunting as a group allowed early humans to take down much larger prey, and that's exactly what they did. Most animals relied on their speed or strength to get away from danger, but not the early humans. They relied on their wits. They used tools to trap animals, or they lured them into tight spaces where they could corner their prey. Sometimes they simply exhausted their prey. This endurance hunting technique involved chasing animals over long distances until they were too tired to keep going. It sounds simple, but it required incredible stamina. And stamina is something that humans have in spades. While other primates had brains that were around 40% the size of a chimpanzee's brain, human brains were growing at an alarming rate. Today, a chimpanzee's brain is roughly 40% the size of a human brain. This means that early humans had to find a way to feed these growing brains, and meat was the answer. The protein and fat found in meat provided the nutrients needed to make larger brains possible, and because of their intelligence, humans were able to develop better weapons, which allowed them to hunt larger prey, which in turn gave them more food to eat. This cycle repeated itself over and over again, creating a feedback loop that drove human evolution. But while humans were becoming more intelligent, stronger, and faster, the predators they were facing were also evolving. In Africa, there was nothing more feared than the lion, and the lion was going through its own evolutionary changes. Over the past few 100,000 years, they had grown from small proto-lions the size of domestic cats to large, powerful hunters almost twice the size of modern lions. These super predators lived across the Old World and hunted alongside spotted hyenas. These hyenas were huge and scary, unlike the hyenas we know today, which are mostly scavengers. Back then, they were apex predators just like the giant lions. And both of these predators were stalking the young Homo erectus. The lion was the main threat. In fact, evidence suggests that lions played a pivotal role in the development of human culture. Researchers believe that Homo erectus were constantly stalked by lions, which may have been the reason why they developed such large brains. You see, living with predators forced our ancestors to think creatively. They had to come up with new ways to escape and even fight back against the lions, which led to the evolution of language, cooperation, and abstract thinking. But despite these developments, lions still posed a serious threat. They hunted humans as a preferred prey and occasionally won. There are thousands of bones from this era that show clear evidence of predation by carnivores. Some of these bones even show injuries consistent with lion attacks, so clearly the lions were winning sometimes. But not all hope was lost. Eventually the tables would turn and humans would become the predator. So what happened? Well, researchers believe that humans hunted lions to extinction, but don't get too excited. This didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't easy either. It took hundreds of thousands of years, but eventually the humans won. How did they do it? Well, it wasn't because they became stronger or faster. In fact, fossils suggest that Homo sapiens didn't really change much physically. Instead, humans won by becoming more clever. As humans cooperated more and more, they developed new weapons and new hunting techniques. Their spears became longer and their projectiles became more accurate. They also developed new tools that helped them track animals, like a sort of early GPS system. By using the stars, they were able to determine where animals were going and intercept them. All of this made it harder and harder for lions to catch humans off guard. And as the last glaciers retreated, humans really became the predator. With the ability to hunt big game came the ability to kill big predators. Hyenas, wolves, bears, tigers, nothing was off limits. Soon, humans would even hunt dinosaurs. Over the next few million years, humans would grow smarter, faster, and stronger. Soon they would completely dominate the planet and become the master species. And yet, strange as it may seem, none of this would have been possible if they hadn't been hunted nearly to extinction in the first place. You see, humans wouldn't have developed the ability to cooperate, hunt, speak, or even dream if it wasn't for the constant threat of extinction. The lions, hyenas, and other predators pushed humans to evolve, forcing them to become the predators themselves. And that brings us to where we are today. Humans are the top predator on the planet. We've hunted every other creature to extinction and destroyed their habitats. And yet, strangely enough, our very survival now depends on preserving the habitats we've destroyed and protecting the animals we've nearly exterminated. It seems that nature has finally turned the tables on us. We are no longer the apex predators. We are now prey. Maybe that's why there's been a resurgence of big cats in human-populated areas. Maybe nature is teaching us a valuable lesson. After all, it was the pursuit of the lion that helped make us who we are today. And maybe it's time to go back to the basics. After all, the fastest way to lose weight, gain muscle, and improve your overall health is by being hunted. At least that's what the scientists say. Now check out when humans first domesticated dogs or click this other video instead. Be sure to subscribe for new videos every week.